Today is a lot later than usual because I went and saw Black Adam after work. So that's pretty much the only thing I'm going to talk about today. So I'll start off with my try to keep it pretty general, my non-spoiler thoughts on it, and then I'll probably maybe go deeper into spoilers. I think, like I said before, I wasn't quite sure what to expect from this movie, and coming out of it, I have to say I was definitely entertained. Well, it's definitely not my favorite DC film. I'll just say that right now. There's definitely ones I've liked more than this, but there's definitely ones I've liked less. And as a theater going experience, first of them, I enjoyed watching it. It was definitely entertaining the entire time. Definitely not anti-entertaining. Like, I think there was some article, some review calling it anti-entertaining. I don't really see that point of view at all. Of course, it has flaws and certain things I want to talk about, but anti-entertaining was definitely I don't see that point of view. This is it's definitely not as bad as, say, Suicide Squad, like the first Suicide Squad, which I did think was very bad when I saw it in theaters. And then even with like the aspect of like the whole movie theater going experience, Suicide Squad was just a bad movie. Whereas Black Adam, definitely entertaining and enjoyable, and actually it has a lot of good stuff in there. I felt like Dwayne Johnson's portrayal as Black Adam was good. I felt like going into the movie, I was worried about it just being The Rock as a superhero, and I felt like that the kind of charisma that people think of The Rock as having is not present in this movie. If you sort of pitched it as like, we're bringing, this movie's going to be sold on The Rock's personality, I would say that we saw that in the lead up with him marketing the movie, especially in social media. It is not in this movie. He definitely plays a character in this movie. He's a very sort of, what's the word I'm going for? Not somewhat somber, but also like, that the doesn't talk very much kind of type of guy. I'm almost thinking of like Henry Cavill's character in The Witcher, the way he just kind of grunts a lot. That sort of character. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I felt like did a great job as portraying something different. Something I'm not sure if we've seen that much of him, at least lately, that sort of character. And then on top of that, he does bring a certain pathos to the character later in the film, which I won't get too much into just yet. So, other good things, I liked Hawkman. Also, one of my favorite characters in the movie, Dr. Fate. Pierce Brosnan does a great job as this character. And I'm familiar from the character only from Young Justice. So this is a slightly different take on the character. It was great to see him play Dr. Fate. And like the special effects, I felt like were great throughout the movie. I also enjoyed Atom Smasher, and I believe her name is Cyclone. Those were two great characters that I'm not familiar with. It was great to see them. The action sequences were well done. I felt like the CGI was pretty good. I didn't notice anything. So, I mean, to be honest, a lot of times I'm not the first one to point out like CGI flaws. So take that with a grain of salt. And yeah, so like I was saying, this movie does have a lot of great things going for it. That's my general first takeaway, is that I really enjoyed this movie. Just for like general criticisms before getting into any like specific spoilers, I would say like my first initial reaction from the movie, even like going through partway, I won't say too much, is that there is a part of me that I felt like this almost could easily be changed into just a Justice Society movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, that they are major characters and that it feels like it portrays them in a good enough fashion that you could, like, just by altering the movie a little bit, make them the main characters in the movie. So I would put that on the positive side. I think pretty much that wraps up all my like non-spoiler thoughts, because I think most of what I have to say from now on is going to go into spoilers. It's not like super huge spoilers, but in case you want to try to go into it without any knowledge, which in fact I will go probably on a little tangent of this. I felt like, having seen the movie now, it's probably better to go in if don't watch the trailer. If you can avoid seeing the trailers, I would suggest not watching the trailers, because I'm going to talk about that right now. The thing I want to talk about with this Black Adam, so in the trailer, he has the line where he specifically kind of tells his backstory. And my main issue with that is you're not supposed to know his entire backstory going into this. You know, this part in the trailer where he says, you know, my son died for me, or something along those lines. Yeah, my son sacrificed his life to save me. Here's the thing. In the movie, the way it's done, you're not supposed to know that at the beginning of the movie. So if you've seen the trailer, I feel like it already spoiled it. Now, I'm not entirely familiar with the character from the comics, but I did read a little bit about it, and I do know that's part of his backstory. But to someone just going in, not familiar with the comics, but they did see the trailers, they're already somewhat spoiled. Because the way the movie is portrayed, you're not supposed to know that. That's revealed in a flashback late in the movie. You know, it's very, I think, like the end of the second act, you would call it, probably. And yeah, as the movie first portrays, like the initial prologue, you're not supposed to know that. You're not even supposed to know that the kid isn't Black Adam. You're supposed to think that he's the kid who then becomes who then gets the power of Shazam, and because that's the way it presents it. But if you know that my son sacrificed his life to save me from the trailer, then you know that something's not adding up. You know, it just creates this. If you're paying attention, you know something is going to be revealed eventually, and we do get, like, at least I think one sort of brief flashback before we get the reveal flashback of what really happened. Yeah, I just think that's dumb marketing. I mean, why would you reveal it that way? You could have definitely sold the character of Black Adam without showing that. This happens like in the third act or whatever of the movie. Do we really need to show this in the trailer? I mean, this just, you know, them picking out a what looks like a cool shot, the sequences, and putting that in the trailer, where this really shouldn't have been in the trailer. It because, like, you just know that it's going there, and then of course you know it's not gonna end like that. Also, when I was watching this, I noticed the whole Iron Man like sequence. This whole Iron Man sequence was not in the movie. I don't know. I mean, it did seem kind of like something was done specifically for the trailer to be similar to Iron Man and show a difference between him and Iron Man. I wonder if that's like a cut scene, or if it was specifically for the trailer, because I'm not sure where this would have gone exactly. There were some humor moments that didn't quite work, and they didn't work for the I think the thing that people have criticized like Marvel movies for is like the forced humor, and that like it really takes away from the action. And what Black Adam does is show why you have to take sort of like a pause in the action in order to tell a joke, because there are like at least 3 to 4 jokes in here that just get completely lost in the action. There's just no time to react to it, and they at least in the theater I was, there were like 3 to 4, like I feel like they were decent jokes. It's just they didn't have any time to land because they were just in the middle of action, and there just was no pause. And I'm specifically thinking like there's like the one scene where Black Adam in quick succession makes 2 callbacks that are basically like, you know, jokes that don't land at all, because he does it in the middle of an action sequence. You know, where he says, where the guy says, "Let go of me" or something like that, and he says something like that. That's really poor choice of words, which is a callback to what happened in just the earlier scene. And for one thing, I would say that's not enough time between like the setup, which was the kid saying that. That was a really bad time to do that, or a poor choice of words. I can't remember what the exact phrase was. And it like happens in the very next scene. Like it's in the middle of that whole sequence of events. And so there's like no room for that between the setup and the callback, for one thing. And then that is immediately followed up. Then he does a callback, which is basically the second of like there's a running gag of him trying to do his not punchline, but his catchphrase, where he's trying to say the tell him that the man in black sent you. And then like he tries to do it, but he gets cut off because the guy's like gone because he dropped the guy. Yeah, those two get like put right next to each other, and they kind of fall flat. And I think it's because they're just right in the middle of the action sequence. And then like, especially for the first part where the you know, telling him that it's a poor choice of words or whatever the phrase was, it's too close to the setup. It was like right before. It's not, you have to have a certain amount of distance between a setup and the callback, or otherwise it's like I set something up and then, you know, there's like a couple lines and then you call back to it. It doesn't have the same effect. It's like we just heard you say that first thing. It just sounds like you're repeating it now. So I felt like there were a lot of moments of humor that didn't really work for this. That I felt like could have worked if there was like some editing changes. And I felt like this was what happens when you don't have that sort of breakaway or pause in the moment of the battle or whatever. Some people might say that's unrealistic, but the humor does not work if you don't have that. It's just like you just miss it. It just like completely flies by. The other thing I was saying was like I felt like the moment when Black Adam gets taken in, he kind of surrenders and it is taken to this secret underwater base to be locked away forever. I felt like at that point, this almost feels like a Justice Society movie as much as a Black Adam movie, which is not a knock on any of the characters. It's just like I think they did such a good job portraying the Justice Society, even though I did feel like Hawkman's a little bit, heroes don't kill, seemed a little forced, I want to say. Like I didn't quite feel the reasoning behind it. Like I get why they would have a character like that say that, like in the writing of it. I just don't quite buy the character's motivation and reasoning behind that, other than just I'm a do-gooder and you're killing people and that's bad. It felt a little two-dimensional, I would say. It didn't quite feel like he had a nuanced reasoning or anything complex behind it. I would have liked some more nuance when it came to that side of things, or why someone like Hawkman thinks that, which we didn't really get in this movie. Yeah, like I said, in general, like, I really did enjoy this movie, and it could have been better in certain ways, like any movie. I feel like it's probably mid tier DCEU, or a little bit higher mid tier for me. I definitely enjoyed the Suicide Squad 2021 more than this, and was, even though that made hardly any money, which doesn't matter. It was still, I felt like, the best DCEU movie, and definitely liked it more than the original Suicide Squad, which is, like, I think the DC movie I dislike the most. And then, like, I don't know where my other rankings of DC movies would be. Thinking of what came out recently, The Batman. I would probably put The Batman over this in terms of quality. Yeah. You know, it is definitely kind of mid tier. Maybe the upper of the mid tier, but still mid tier. Where there's Batman's above it is where I would kind of rank it. I would say I was a little disappointed by, kind of like, as I was watching it, realizing, like, you know, the certain things were spoiled from the trailers, or things you could, like, kind of reason as the movie's going on, because they didn't tell you at the beginning of the movie, but then if you had paid attention to the trailer, you know that's coming. You know, like, but something's not right here, because what I saw in the trailer and what I was told right here, these are not the same things, so I know that something's gonna be revealed, or they changed something. And then that's all, I mean, not all you can think of, but it's like in the back of your mind the entire time, where it kind of, sometimes it's better if something like that isn't in the back of your mind, because then it's a surprise. And that's, like, one of the things that I didn't have in this movie, is a lot of surprises. Things did become very, to a certain point, predictable. Not like predictable in a huge bad way, because if you hadn't seen any of the trailers or not, you could say, well, obviously, you know, they're not going to kill each other. Like, Black Adam's not going to kill off the entire Justice Society, and then of course they're going to team up against a villain. And then the villain was some devil guy. I can't even remember his name. Sabak, or... Yeah, it was pretty forgettable. Even I was watching, he's like, him with his big CGI face. Yeah, that's not going to be rememberable. So, yeah, they fight a big CGI dude. And that was okay. I did like the conflict between Black Adam and the Justice Society a lot, especially with them coming in with this sort of having. I felt like the Justice Society's motivation felt a little two-dimensional, but I did like the reaction to the Justice Society, not just from Black Adam or the other character, I can't remember her name, the person who woke him up, but also, like, just the general people of Kahndaq, something like that. Just their general reaction was interesting, about how, like, they would kind of view these American, I mean, they're basically American heroes. I kind of felt like they should have almost gone that full way and called it the Justice Society of America, because they're very specific about calling it, no, just Justice Society, just like, you know, calling it just the Justice League. And I think it would have almost been more interesting if it was the Justice Society of America that's, you know, going to another country and just saying, we're here to put things in order because we're you know, maybe that would have been going too far with the analogy. But I think it could have been kind of interesting. But it did also at the same time feel like there weren't that many people in the Justice Society, at least for this one mission. Obviously, you could always do another movie with the Justice Society and just say they have more members and just say they were, you know, busy doing other things. But there's really only just Hawkman and Dr. Fate, because Cyclone and Atom Smasher are new, at least to the Justice Society, because they call them at the very beginning. Amanda Waller refers to them as being green, so I'm assuming this is like their first mission, and they don't really seem to know each other either. So it's kind of weird that they don't have any more people. But there is, the Justice Society is a thing. It's not just forming for the first time. You know, Dr. Fate refers to it, like he says, we're this Justice Society. So it kind of isn't built up that much in the movie. It kind of like, I feel like relies on your knowledge of if not just the Justice Society, but of like super teams in general for you to watch this. It's definitely not, the movie isn't going to explain anything to you that way, but I think it's kind of relying on just the general public knowledge of a group of superheroes like this, that we don't have to introduce and tell you what the Justice Society is. We'll just say it's the Justice Society. You know, you'll get it. It's a group of superheroes like the Justice League or Avengers. Yeah, you know, you get it. Which I think is okay. It works well in this film. I just find it weird that there's, you know, it's like this super group, but there's only 4 of them. And I felt like, what was it? Justice League was like short on members when there was only 5 of them, plus Superman, but he wasn't in the whole movie. I think those are all my reactionary thoughts to seeing Black Adam in theaters. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this live stream, any positive, negative comments, or whatever.